This is SPTV.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to SPTV, where if you didn't know, now you do know. And in this episode, you guys, we are going to be reacting to John Travolta, who wants to pitch Scientology in this Australian interview. And shout out to Australian journalists, you guys. Like, they're one of the more, in your face journalists that I see. The American journalists should literally go to Australia and, figure out what it is that they do in the universities that teach this journalist how to ask questions that, America doesn't seem to be teaching any of its journalists, right? So without further ado, let's react onto what this Travolta man wants to pitch. Let's check it out.
You've always credited Scientology as being the thing that's kept you going,
Yes.
held you together. And currently you're, and correct me if I'm wrong, an operating thetan. Is that right?
Well, I wouldn't dare get into the nomenclature at this point.
Oh, well.
Because it's like going into
Well, okay, what I was
doctor's
what I was intrigued with, what I read is it said that.
Wow, you guys, look at John Travolta. I wouldn't want to get into the nomenclature of that. So let's contextualize something here for you guys. Like, when you step into a grooming salon of Scientology, they drill and hammer into your head to be hyper aware of how you're being communicated to, because you really are trying to manipulate the conversation exactly how you want it. And in fact, they teach you to desensitize your normal conversational framework. And you'll see exactly what John Travolta is doing here. Like, the level of deflection and no answering of questions is so evident, except that, people that have no self-awareness, which is literally what these courses rip from these people. As much as these people purport that the courses are amazing and I couldn't be anywhere where I am without the courses rip their self-awareness off of them. And they become the type of robot that we're seeing here John become, instead of just answering the question like a natural person. I mean, if this is something so helpful and so incredible, and wouldn't you want everyone to know about it? And that's why you always have these runaround conversations with these people, because they don't know really how to answer the question authentically. They're not really that proud of what it is that they do in that hotel membership. I mean, they're not going to start telling you, oh yeah, there's all kinds of minors running around that, come over and help me as slaves that we call Sea Org members. And, it's just so wonderful. I really wouldn't be anywhere without it. So let's really contextualize that part.
The ability to control energy, space, time, and matter, which I'd love to have on my business card. What does that mean?
Well, it means is that, all of the things around us.
So you see how he's getting so uncomfortable, you guys? Like, his body language is changing. He doesn't feel in control of the conversation because this journalist is throwing some curveballs to him. Remember, these people, especially at the level of this man that you see on the screen, are usually fully capitulated to, meaning that everybody speaks to them on the terms that they want, and everybody says exactly what it is that they want to hear. But, when they end up in Australia and they're talking to a reporter who is going to be a little more cheeky, if you will, they're going to be, you see that this reporter, he's not being aggressive. He's being pretty normal with him. but all of his responses are nervous because there is no way for these people to answer what they do inside those hotels being transparent. And their cognitive dissonance, the level of cognitive dissonance in their head that has been developed over decades of being members of those hotels is very evident here in this clip, as we can see. Let's see what else he has.
Us are made of matter, and we're living in space, and we're registering time.
Yeah.
And the better you can control it, the better off you'll be.
And there it is, guys, the pitch of a lifetime by John Travolta. Like, what in the hell is he talking? There's a matter and there's space and there's energy. It's typical L. Ron Hubbard, though, you guys. I mean, honestly, like, it couldn't be more pathetic. Like, they reframe the obvious in these words that they all believe are so unique to them, and they think they sound so intellectual and advanced, but there's nothing to the rhetoric and there's nothing to the points, because they're all just ridiculous, regurgitated ramblings of an indicted felon.
So when you walk into a room like this, albeit not a normal room,
A beautiful room.
a beautiful room. When you walk into a room like this, how do you, or any room, how do you employ that?
Well, I make sure that I look at individuals' faces and I see the affection they have for me.
And there you go, John, going to his little smirk and his little smile, and let me just get everyone to like me and let me be so nice to everybody. But you can tell he's uncomfortable AF.
And the affection that I have back for them. And that starts it.
I mean, look at, he has robotically looking at these people, like the affection they have for me and them.
And then I know, because I feel the affection, that I could talk to them if I wanted.
Because I feel the affection, I could talk to them if I wanted. I mean, again, you guys, it's like, it's really, really telling to see this man trying to wiggle his way out of this interview. And, you know, he does a good job at seem a little reserved because he's not as egocentric and narcissistic as other celebrities that we don't even have to mention here. But let's see what else he shows us.
Couldn't I talk to any one of you if I wanted? And then I could start a conversation, and then we could get to know each other better. And then suddenly there's a good feeling. But I could also walk in and ignore that, and that could get me into trouble.
That is exactly where you need to be, John Travolta. In trouble. In trouble for all your decades and millions you have given to a hotel that systemically and institutionally traffics minors at an industrial scale. In trouble is what you should be for literally being part of the equivalent of Jeffrey and Ghislaine Maxwell racketeering, high school abduction of minors conspiracy, except you and your buddies do it a lot more hardcore in your hotels. In the hotels that you're a paid member to, those are what we're referring to, John. So yeah, you're about to get in trouble. You're about to get called out. You're about to be held accountable because pathetically, the media that are so pressed for you to show up and promote your little films and your little whatevers that you're trying to do in order to continue to play this part that you're playing for everybody, this very fake persona that you put up. Well, you couldn't be more pathetic behind the mask.
To ignore it because it's there, and I should acknowledge it. It's beautiful, you see. So that's what I'm saying. I come in, I control it by actually looking at someone who looks quite wonderful and saying hi to them, you know. You're welcome.
I think the entire audience wants to date you.
Group date.
Why?
Yeah, and that is very pathologically how, these depraved people can seem so nice and so endearing and everything so normal about them. But you have to realize one thing, you guys, when you are involved in the type of environments that this celebrity man frequents, where he is a prisoner of his own stupidity, where he is granting power literally to be the therapist on people that complete a 2-week course and all of a sudden are fully qualified to go do whatever it is that John likes to get done in those hotel rooms with these people. So let's really put that into context of this conversation, because I feel like people can look very nice, can sound very nice, can, from the superficial part that they're playing, can come across very, very good. But as we know here at SPTV, the ones that actually have spent time with him personally in hotel rooms, the ones that know a lot of information about his family and the way that he's been as a father, have a very, very different educated point of view that has nothing to do with glorifying a man who, by his own adult choices, has literally dug his own grave.
Why do people get so freaked out about Scientology? Because it's almost treated like the invasion of the body snatchers by its
Well, I don't know. I think the best thing is to read about it. That's always the best thing, is that you find out for yourself and make up your own mind.
How smooth are you, John? Just a little chuckle. You don't seem very bothered. Oh, just read about it. The best way to know about it is to read about it. But you know what, John Travolta? I read about it. I read about it since I was 12 years old. So I like the point you're making, in fact, even though we're calling out your little pathetic way of answering that. But yeah, you're right. The best way to know what the hell it is to read the ramblings of the indicted felon that wrote the books, and the indicted felon that wrote the policies, and the indicted felon that wrote the technical bulletins. Because once you know what it says in those bulletins, once you know how to read through that, what was it that you called it? Hard nomenclature, then no one can play you for a fool. Then everyone can see how transparent you are. And since you wanted us to all know what it was by reading about it, let's do a little thing here. Let's just fully contextualize this with what he's going to say next, you guys. And then I have a little thing to read for you all.
That's what you're encouraged to do anyway. So I think you just get a good book, read it, and find out for yourself.
Well, thank you, John Travolta, because that's exactly what we're doing here. We got ourselves a really good book. Are you familiar with Dianetics, the Modern Science of Mental Health? Book 1, that one. Here's a little section that we're going to read. The first axiom is of the interest of the auditor in the work because of what he can clearly establish whether or not he's confronting a rational reaction. The 7-year-old girl who shudders because a man kisses her is not computing. She's reacting to an engram. Since a 7, she should be seeing nothing wrong in a kiss, not even a passionate one. There must have been an earlier experience, possibly prenatal, which made men or kissing very bad. So I think that's all we need to read for ourselves, you guys, to be like, what in the actual literal hell is this pitch from an indicted felon that wrote that, you know, every 7-year-old little girl, John, should just see nothing wrong with passionately being kissed. And we would love to hear from you, since you've been there for 40 years, as you said in that other interview. What in the literal abominable hell are you and the rest of your buddies that have read this book and have thought for yourself, let me read about it and let me think for myself what it means? Tell your little publicist to write a statement about how this particular quote that's literally found in a New York Times bestseller. I mean, isn't that L. Ron Hubbard's best-selling book ever? So let's really hear from your publicist, because you would be completely incapable of crafting your own statement or speaking for yourself without putting your foot further down your throat. But let them answer that question for you. Because I would dare you to find a crisis management communication specialist that could sanitize pedophilia, the type of pitch that the indicted felon you have worshipped for the last 40 years wrote down in his very, very first book. So if this is in his very, very first book, you guys, save the time and don't read the rest of the BS rhetoric. Just save it. You don't need to hear or know anything else.
Nothing.
Oh, that was it. So there you go, you guys. Holding these celebrities to task and having these celebrities start contacting their publicists so that they can start all together having little crisis management meetings so that they can start explaining for themselves what in the literal hell is actually going on with this paid membership to this hotel chain they can't seem to stop gloating about. All right. I'll see you guys soon.